Good morning, viewers, and welcome to another edition of the Market Review, where we bring you developments in the financial and capital market as it relates to the economy. It's the first edition for March, 2nd of March 2021, and today we'll be looking at the recent intervention and activities of the Central Bank of Nigeria in the Nigeria Commodities Exchange, NCX, which is all designed to support the commodities system. But what is the implication of this to the entire value chain and ecosystem? Joining us to discuss this is Mr. Bisi Iyaniwura. He's a lawyer but an agribusiness expert, joining us virtually. Good morning, Mr. Bisi.
Good morning, my brothers, and good morning, Nigeria. It's a pleasure being with you again.
Yes. Let's first begin with your assessment of the agri sector gross domestic product performance in year 2020. Agri continues to be part of the drivers of our growth, making non-oil sector a major player, contributor to our GDP, moving away from the reliance, which is our cry, from the oil sector.
Thank you very much. The Nigerian agri sector has been very, very resilient and a very, very robust contribution to the GDP of the nation. It's doing very well, but it could actually do far more better than it is doing now if the parameters are well judged and if the government provides the needed analytic environment. As an instance, you will find out that the issue of herdsmen and farmers, as to a great extent, affected the farming community of Nigeria. I will tell you that last year, the COVID was also a major negative influence on the Nigerian farming ability. And we are yet to see the effect of the COVID and the herdsmen on our enterprise of agri. Because what we eat this year ought to have been planted last year. And I can tell you without any contradiction, for a possibility that a lot of people were not on the farm last year because of COVID. And that is why you are seeing price and cost of agri produce going up. Egg is going towards 2,000 naira now per crate. Why? Farmers are not on the farm to plant maize and soya beans, which are the major feed components of the poultry. Chickens are dying off. A lot of farmers are reducing their poultry holdings because of the cash flow that is needed to procure a more expensive feed, to feed their flocks. And also, don't forget that poverty is becoming a major thing in the country. The effective ability of Nigerians to buy anything, not only agri, is been greatly affected by the exchange rate of the naira and the inflation. So real effective marketing ability does not exist. So as we are talking like this, there is a very major glut for egg and poultry in the market. Not because people don't need it, but because people don't have the ability to purchase. So that tells you that the potentials are there, but it is highly limited by external circumstances and influences. So agri, yes. And also, I want us to know that what we are seeing in agri presently, it's more of a propaganda. Ask me why. You see, Nigeria is still predominantly brick mortar agri community. So we have more of our people doing subsistence farming. You have people with 1 acre, 2 acres, and 3 acres as contributors to agri economy of Nigeria. That should not be it. In reasonable advanced countries where agri is taken as a business, like the Netherlands, you see one farmer having like 10,000 hectares of farm. You rarely get that in this country. So the government itself has actually turned agri from being a business into a dumping ground for people who have nothing meaningful to do. And that is distorting the agricultural economy and structure of the country. Because most of these people don't take agri as a business. They don't know what they actually put into agri and what they should get back. I hope you are getting me.
Yes.
So they are distorting the agricultural economy of the nation. The government is having a false impression that agric is doing well. Agric is not doing well. We're having a larger volume of agric output because more people are in agric. What we should be mentioning and measuring is what is the per capita production of an average Nigerian on the farm. And then we will know whether our agric is making progress or not. And I can tell you it is far below best international standard. I'll give you an example. Cassava. Nigeria has one of the worst cassava output ratio in the world. We are still talking about 15 to 20 metric tons of cassava per hectare, whereas Thailand and other countries are looking at 40 to 50 metric tons. But we keep saying we are the largest producer of cassava in the world because more people are in that sector of farming. So you can now imagine if the total number of people in that sector are also now producing at the optimum global expectation of 40 to 50 metric tons, you could see where we will go. So we are not looking at the per capita output of agric, we are just looking at the volume. And that does not show the efficiency of our agric system. So yes, agric contributed, but it is not doing what it should do because the efficiency is not there. It's not basically an issue of money. It is an issue of style and efficiency. How many tractors do we have in Nigeria? Far less than 1/100 of what we need. So that's why we're still doing brick and mortar. Thank you.
So it's the issue of style and efficiency. At least we saw growth in the crop production, livestock, forestry. But you're saying that, yes, we really need to enhance the value chain and the ecosystem, which is very clear from what you said.
What I said is the growth we have seen is not a growth that can be relied upon. Last year, the agric we measured last year was what was planted upper year.
Okay.
What we are going to eat this year ought to be what we planted last year. So if we are talking about agric contribution to the GDP, we are looking at what it did 2 years ago. Let us wait and see the parameter for last year, this year. And we're already seeing it. Cost of agricultural produce, food is going up. Yeah. There was a publication, I think about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, that the price of food in Nigeria presently is at the highest level in the last 12 years. That is what I'm saying. Because last year, farmers could not go to the market. COVID. And then poverty, a lot of farmers don't have the money to even go to the market. I will tell you, I know people, I was even a participant of some farmers who have oil palm plantation, but because they didn't have the money to go and do the clearing and everything, they gave the oil palm to me for a lease for 4 years. So I had to pay them for 4 years. I will manage, I would get the whatever it is that comes out of it. This is not something they will have done if they have the money to manage the oil palm by themselves. Yeah, I hope I'm making progress. So we will actually know what last year in agric, what you did last year is what you eat this year. Agric is not an instant thing.
Let's look at the role of commodities exchange in diversifying Nigeria's revenue base. Of course, we know that they play a role in economic diversification, but looking at our revenue-based diversification, how do you assess that?
Okay. Before we start talking about the role of commodity exchanges in Nigeria, let's look at what the commodity exchange is as a structure. The history of commodity exchange dates back to more than 5,000 years. It's a normal phenomenon. You have the very big one, the New York, the London Commodity Exchange, the European Commodity Exchange, but it is actually a very recent phenomenon in Nigeria, and that I think that is why we're having the issues. The Abuja Commodity Exchange in Nigeria is plus or minus about 35 years, if I'm right, because I knew what happened towards the establishment of the Abuja Commodity Exchange. A commodity exchange is like a normal market where people gather to exchange commodities against themselves. The only difference between a commodity exchange and a physical market, because you see, what we call commodity exchange actually is a misnomer, because they don't trade commodities there. What they trade at the commodity exchange are receipts warrants and futures of the commodity or of the underlying commodities. So to even use the term commodity exchange within the Nigerian and global context, we can only be talking about having one commodity exchange in Nigeria, which is the FX. And the FX trades, I would rather say FX is not the commodity exchange, because what they do is they buy to warehouse. So they do more of physical buying into their different warehouses all over the country to mitigate, and they buy when the season is low. That means when prices are low at the season, and they sell when the season is high. That means when prices has gone up, and they make their own margin. That is not what a commodity exchange does. You see, there are basically two commodity exchanges in Nigeria. The Abuja Commodity Exchange and the recently licensed Lagos Commodity and Future Exchange. Did you get the name? Lagos Commodity and Future Exchange.
Yes.
You see, the names goes a long way to tell you what it does. In the commodity exchange, aside from trading the warrants, because it works on a warranty system, which is called the store receipts. Yeah. They also trade in futures and derivatives. What are futures? Futures are hedging and taking risk against the likely movement of the price of a commodity, both agri and soft and hard commodities in the future. And then the derivatives are the risk taken over the underlying commodities. The Abuja Commodity Exchange is also licensed to do that, but has never done that. Why? Because they lack what it takes to do it. I can proud myself to say I was a foundational contribution to the Abuja Commodity Exchange. I did a paper to the Federal Minister of Commerce and Industry then on the need to have a commodity exchange in Nigeria. But how they went about it, I was not part of it. You see, when you want to talk about a commodity exchange, you need to have a very strong store receipt and warrant system. Because it is the integrity of the warrant system that is traded on the commodity exchange, not the physical agricultural produce. The traders on the commodity exchange, what they are relying on is that a warehouse that is registered by the government, that is registered by us, has said, I have 100 metric tons of cocoa or commodities in my warehouse. And this is the warrant. This is the warrant that they are trading. And they are looking at the possibility of, the price will go up next year, the price will come down, and that's what they are trading. The advantage of a commodity exchange is that, you see, that warrant is like a check. It's a negotiable instrument. So when you have a warrant for, say, 100 metric tons of cocoa, and there's no immediate buyer for that cocoa, you can trade your warrant on the stock, on the commodity exchange, so that you can have funds to go back and stock more. So that means it enables the owners of the commodity to have the capacity to trade more. And that's the multiplier effect. Because if nobody is buying the cocoa in the market, the farmers don't have money to go back to the farms. If the farmers don't go back to the farm, next year there will be less cocoa to trade. So the commodity exchanges are more like a moderating platform between the farmers who own the commodity and the buyers who will need the commodity, not today, not tomorrow, but for the future. Assuring them that, look, if you pay this farmer for today, you are sure your commodity is available for tomorrow. So that is actually the essence of what the commodity exchange is.
All right. It's very clear what you've said, the need for a strong receipt and warrant system. But let's look at the intervention in the Nigerian Commodities Exchange by the Central Bank of Nigeria. There have been various reactions to that, but what is your own perspective on this intervention?
Before I give you a direct answer to that, I will first want to comment on the various intervention by the CBN. I think the CBN is biting more than what it can chew. You see, the CBN is assuming the role of the Ministry of Works and Housing. It is assuming the role of the Ministry of Culture. It is assuming the role of the Ministry of Health. For goodness sake, that is not the work of the central bank. Yes, the central bank is supposed to be a facilitator of wealth, of prosperity, but not by printing money or throwing money around. What concerns the CBN with National Theatre? You see, the Abuja Commodities Exchange, it's supposed, in fact, the CBN involvement in the Abuja Commodities Exchange from the beginning, I've said it, was a very bad decision.
It was a bad decision.
It was a very bad decision, and it is still a very bad decision. Yes. The Commodity Exchange is regulated jointly by SEC and CBN. So with the CBN now as a shareholder of Abuja Commodity Exchange, how do you regulate yourself? And that is one of the major problems with regulatory functions in the country. NIPOS is a regulatory agency, and it is competing with the logistic companies. Of course, you will confer advantages to yourself. The appropriate and proper persons to be shareholder of Abuja Commodity Exchange are the Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry Incorporated, the Federal Ministry of Finance and Industry Incorporated, and the Federal Ministry of Agri Incorporated. The CBN ought not to be part of them. Now to the 50 billion intervention. Let's ask ourselves, who is intervening and for what purpose and to whose advantage? What has the central bank got to do by giving 50 billion to the Abuja Commodity Exchange? To kill the only competitor in the market, which is the Lagos Commodity Futures, because that's the only competitor to the Abuja Commodity Exchange. And unlike what is expected of the central bank as a major reason for granting the 50 billion naira, said some people were hoarding commodities. For goodness sake, is it the duty of a commodity exchange to store commodities? It is not. Like I said, the Commodity and Future Exchange only trades on warrants. The warrants are issued by warehouses that are licensed by the government to hold these commodities.
That is futures
so why
and
is the CBN saying
derivatives.
Yes. So the 50 billion that is being will not affect the availability of commodity. Rather, it is the money that is being thrown into the well. What happened to the previous money and capitalization that has been done to the Abuja Commodity Exchange? The Commodity Exchange has nothing to do with owning. I think Central Bank just wants to cripple the Lagos Commodity and Funds Exchange. That's the thing. They want to cripple them because they have seen now that this is a private sector initiative that is creating ripples in the market, that is making people realize that some things are possible. And they have seen that Abuja may die. And there's nothing wrong in Abuja dying or making Abuja also privatize it so that we have the Lagos Stock Exchange. Is the CBN a shareholder in the Lagos Stock Exchange? So why must the CBN be a shareholder in the Abuja Commodity Exchange?
So
it begs reasoning. That's the truth of it. Unfortunately, we have a government that keeps mounting private sector participation as a major platform for increased economic, but they keep doing the exact negative part of what they propagate. They keep doing the exact.
All right, Mr. Bisi, an economist was saying that maybe instead the 50 billion naira should have been doled out to the entire ecosystem instead of a focus on the Abuja. Do you agree with that notion?
Yes, they may be right. Yes, but you see, what I am even saying is this: fear is fear. If the CBN wants a good commodity exchange system, you don't have to take one of the two and put it on your back and spoon feed it. Put in place a very robust regulatory mechanism that will allow the two private sectors to thrive in a well-organized economy situation so that the people can take advantage of the non-monopolistic tendencies of the market. What the central bank is afraid of, what they want to create is to create a monopoly. Let's look at what we are enjoying now in the telecom industry. When NITEL was available, we had just about 240 to 250 telephone lines. With the liberalization of that sector, see what has happened. So why is the central bank trying to put back the hands of the clock? Why are they trying to do that? We do not even have enough commodity exchanges. That's what I'm telling you. We do not have enough. So the SEC and the CBN should actually work together at creating an enabling environment for more people to come in. Just like you have the high-level stock market, you have the middle-level stock market, we can also have that in the commodity exchange. So if you are not a big player, you can play in the middle level. You can play in the middle level so that the capital requirement for you to access the market is not as high. Now the CBN is trying to raise the barrier. And like I said, the 50 billion that the CBN is giving to the Abuja Commodities Exchange will not and cannot in any way affect the supply of beans, maize, and corn in the market. Let the central bank put that 50 billion into the farming sector, into the agri sector. Let them buy tractors and lease it out to farmers. Let them use this money to buy and improve seedling for farmers, not for the exchange. It's a dead investment from the beginning. It is dead.
Okay, Mr. Bisi, you say it's dead on arrival, but already the central bank has been investing in the anchor borrower scheme and the agri-care initiatives too, which you are aware of. Is that not part of the measures to also boost activities in the sector?
If you want to ask real farmers, what has been the impact of the anchored borrowers on the agri sector, you'll be surprised. A lot of them are sitting on debts because the design of the anchored borrowers program looks fine, but the implementation is highly defective at the beginning. I spoke with 2 or 3 of the largest rice millers in Nigeria about 2 or 3 months ago. I will tell you, number one, they're having issues with getting rice paddy in Nigeria because not enough are being produced. You can quote me, some of them they are smuggling rice paddy from Chad and Niger to meet their capacity utilization. Now, I asked them, when they told me the price of how much they are buying the paddy, I said, so how come you are selling at this price? They said the federal government is forcing them to sell at a loss because the federal government said they got facilities from the central bank and so they cannot be selling at market prices. And I asked them, I said, is the federal government going to help you pay back your loan? Because seriously, market is about demand and supply. If I'm buying paddy at 480,000 and I'll need 2 tons of paddy to make 1 ton of polished rice, common sense should tell me that what I'm investing is 480,000 times 2, and I will get 20 bags of rice from that. Or even without putting my overhead cost, the cost of producing that rice is higher than what they are selling now. So a lot of them, the central bank said, okay, anchor's borrower, you as the anchorer, you are the one taking the loan. You give the loan to the farmers, but you should not take securities from the farmers. Is that a good business model? So a lot of these farmers initially took the money and they went to marry new wives. They went to buy cars. And then the loans crystallized and the anchorers were now being asked to pay back. I was involved in 1 or 2 to help them rejig and what they need to do. So that's why a lot of people are even afraid now to take money from the Anchor Borrowers program because they are telling me I have to take liability for what I don't have control over. That's it.
Okay.
When we were doing cocoa trade, what we did then, because I was in cocoa trade, what we did then was we took facilities from bank for onward lending to cocoa farmers, but we tell them give us securities. Give us either the title document of your car or of your house. You see, there must be something to make them fearful.
Yes.
That if there is a default, yes. If there are no repercussions, nobody takes anything serious.
Okay, so in 30 seconds, what is the implication of this whole intervention of CBN in the commodities ecosystem? What needs to be done quickly based on what you've said now?
The plan by the Central Bank of Nigeria to inject 50 billion taxpayers' money into the Abuja Commodities Exchange is uncalled for. It will kill entrepreneurship in the country. It is a money that cannot meet the intended purpose because the commodity exchange does not warehouse agricultural commodities. A commodity exchange only trades paper. So the 50 billion, is it for Abuja Commodity Exchange to buy commodities when it is not a warehouse? So it is the money that is lost from the beginning, and the purposes and intendment are surely not what the government has told us. It is intended to kill competition in the market.
Okay.
It is intended to kill competition. And I think it's that time the CBN should get out of that market. The CBN should sell its shares in the Abuja Commodity Exchange to the necessary agencies of government of the private sector, so that we can have real competition in that sector.
Definitely, the Central Bank of Nigeria will have its own views on this, as you've already responded to some of them for their case. Yep. But it's very clear that you said the central bank intervention, as it is, will not enable a competitive commodities market. That's what you're clearly saying.
Absolutely. Okay. It is actually counter competition.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bisi Iyaniwura, for the time, and we hope to have much better conversations with you in the course of the year around the commodities market, because we know that this is one opportunity to diversify our revenue base, not just the economy, and create more value for the agri and even the solid minerals sector, to further boost our quest to drive a non-oil sector growth and economy that creates jobs and lifts millions from poverty.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes. And that will be all for this edition of the Market Review. You can join conversation further. Log on to our website, www.proshareng.com, and on the right hand of our website bar, click on Commodities. You will read all the stories around the commodities market and what's happening in that space. And also, we have published that intervention by by Central Bank of Nigeria in the Commodities Exchange. And we also have some of our conversations with industry players in the Commodities Exchange, including our guest today. So also, if you have comments or questions around what we've discussed today around the intervention of the Central Bank of Nigeria and Commodities Exchange, send them to news@proshareng.com. We'll be glad to respond to them appropriately and give you further insight on this. That's a wrap for today. Don't forget that in this period, you have to stay safe to be alive. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.